Says the stream has started. All right. Looks like things are going well. Let me do one more check. And check. How does this sound? How does this look? Looks like things are going well. Let me do one more check. All right, that looks great. Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. We already have. My name is Van the Man. Welcome back. Happy Friday. A lot of people on Reddit, I've been on Reddit a bit more lately as well, are saying altcoin season isn't happening this time. I think they're wrong. They are wrong, though, because there's no way the bear market's already here. We're going to get into that today. My name is Van the Man. We're going to get into that quite heavy today and talk about the how and the why. That's my goal for today's video because I've seen the same sentiment going on this time. And I guess we'll just get started with it before I do other macro indicators. But the sentiment I've been seeing going on out there on Reddit, on X, channels on YouTube, there are a lot of people overly obsessed with the cycle timing. And so there's people saying, well, it has to be every 4 years because we have these 4-year peaks. And so no matter what, 4 years, that's when the top happens. And then there are people saying, well, there's other metrics showing because this was alt season and other timing factors and patterns that it's going to be 4 years from this point, from 2021. And I'm here to tell you those people are wrong. And the way I view the patternists, the way they sound to me, are a lot like people who keep track of the numbers on the daily lottery or the patterns of slot machines at the casino. All because you find patterns, coincidences out there, does not mean they have to play out. What we want to look for is why do these patterns happen? How do they happen? What is the data, the macro market data that shows why we get alt season? Those viewpoints are more important. When people are only looking at the time scales or other things that have to happen because they happened before, I think they're going about it all wrong. And I'll just share with you as I learned and grew in my real career field, which is in the field of psychology. When you start thinking like a psychologist or even a scientist doing studies and research, if you have a hypothesis, you need data to back it up. And when you get data to back up why something's going to happen, you need to be able to replicate those findings through other methods. And that's what I try to do here. So sorry about my dog in the background. Let's run through some macro stuff first before I get into the other data and indicators I am looking for alt season. I don't think alt season is going to happen in March. A lot of people are saying it has to happen in March. I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Not that anything's impossible. I don't see it as probable. So stocks, fear and greed, down in the fear, and it is important that we look at some stock stuff today. And also this, for stocks and crypto, since 1932, it's typical to see about 100 days, give or take, of down or sideways price action. Not to say that has to happen, but that has been typically what has happened. Here's another pattern. And again, even though I'm showing you this historical data, the more important question is why? Why does this happen? How does it happen? Because if the how and the why don't add up for this time, these things can change. And so, yes, this is a pattern of things, but we don't want to blindly follow the patterns. Okay, here is the typical non-recessionary move that we see after rate cuts. And the Fed has been pausing rates. But since the first rate cut, you can say we have been more on average with the non-recessionary trend. So that still leads me to believe that there's more upside possible. Something else to consider as we get into these elevated areas of, this is the S&P price to earnings ratio. We are in elevated areas up here. Now, if you go by the last 30 years or even the last 10 years, you might say, well, that's not so bad. But I would argue that we are getting on the border of bubble territory. You can see here that was dot-com bubble before the great financial crisis. And that was right after there was all that money printing. So I'd say we're getting right on the edge of bubble territory. I would not be shocked to see 10% corrections in the stock market. And that happened in the dot-com bubble as well. Even on the way to the top, there were some big, nasty corrections and more volatility. But I don't believe this secular bull run is finished yet, in my opinion. Getting over to the crypto side of things, let's look at fear and greed, because a lot of you here, most of you here for crypto. It is important to consider the macro data from the stocks, however. Crypto is still falling down in the fear. And overall, we're still in this downtrend of greed to fear. I think it is possible it can go lower. It's even looking more and more like what we saw in 2024 after that March top. Something else I wanted to just bring to y'all's attention. There's this website. It's called bitcoinmonthlyreturn.com. And they have this nice layout of the percent of returns by month. And they even break it down at the bottom for the total percent of returns. You have the average percent of returns as well. And so I've been seeing people out there saying, well, February's overall been a good month. And that's true. That is true. Again, in today's video, we're going to be getting into the how and the why. If you have been investing into altcoins or crypto type assets and you are waiting for alt season to see those amazing returns, what is the correct data to look at? What is some of the correct data? There's a lot out there, but what is the data you want to see in order to say alt season is getting closer or that we are near the end of it? So overall, I guess you could say that February tends to be pretty good. March doesn't look so good. I know it says the average is up, but there's a lot of red years until recently. And then this one big one in 2013. And October, November overall look like pretty good months too. You can see that the summer, typically not so much. And going over to the path to alt season, I'm going to keep saying this. We are not going to get alt season until Bitcoin has topped or is in the process of topping, making its final top. We are not going to get that alt rotation, the rotation from Bitcoin into the top 10 altcoins, Ethereum, Solana, BNB, XRP, trying to think what else is out there, Cardano, Doge, and then the other top altcoins. I don't believe Bitcoin has topped yet, and we are not seeing that rotation. Now, some people argue Bitcoin has topped. 102K was the top. I don't believe that's the case, and there are charts that line up with why I should feel that way. So the tops over here, guys, you want to know when alt season happened in 2017? It was after this peak. After the peak is only when it started. In 2021, it was about as this peak started to be made right here. That was a true alt season. There was a mini alt season over here as well, and this was the true top for Bitcoin the last cycle. I don't believe we've hit that true top yet, and that is why we're not seeing the rotation quite yet. As far as the alt season index, this is one data point that goes along with my theory, my hypothesis. Overall, we don't have the alt season index spiking up. Now, I've seen people saying, well, there's a million altcoins out there. You have way more bread and not enough butter, so to say, with the last two alt seasons. Something to keep in mind is in this alt season, I believe there were, in 2017, I believe there were hundreds of alts, maybe 1,000. Last alt season, there were tens of thousands of altcoins, okay? Tens of thousands, maybe 100,000. I'd have to double check that data. This time around, there's over 1 million plus. I will say this, however, having been here in both these alt seasons, in 2017, there were a lot of alts that did not run, and we still had alt season. I know because I was in some of them. In fact, most of the alts I was in didn't perform during alt season in 2017. But there were two I was in that did big time, and it made it all pay off. The two I was in that did go during alt season, that paid off. The other ones, they ran before, and they would be more in line, I guess you would say, with some of the new scam meme coins out there today. I was trying to get into the hype. I got sucked into the hype. I'll admit it. This cycle around, I saw the same thing happen again. There were many alts from 2017 that did not run as well or at all in 2021. So all because there's many more alts and we have that dilution of alts does not mean that the million altcoins all have to run and that the whole rotation has to go to all those coins. Yes, there's more, but in 2021, that rotation went to the top altcoins. And that's why I take a look at and talk about on this channel alts that are available on Coinbase, on Robinhood, and the Bitcoin miners. I'm trying to find the ones that have the highest probability of running. And the last couple cycles, when I was more degenerate, I'll admit it, I was looking for a 20x, a 50x, because there were so many out there. Those are really hard to find. What I've come away with this cycle is I am fine dollar cost averaging in. This is my plan, doesn't have to be yours. I am fine looking for the safest 5 to 10x's. And you can do the math. If you dollar cost average in $500 a month for 3 years, $500 a month for 3 years, that's 36 months times 500, that's 18,000. 36 divided by 2, okay? That 18,000. You get a 5x out of 18,000, and that's 90K. And I've put in a decent amount into altcoins. I'm looking for more than a 5x, but I am happy with a 5 to 10x. I don't need that much, and I'm fine going with the more probable, safer plays. And the last two cycles, a lot of those were in the top 100 or 200. The top 100 and also some of the top miners. That's why we look at the miners, because I am fine. I am absolutely fine with a 5x. Again, 500 a month for 3 years. You get that to 5x, that's 90K. 18K to 90K. I don't know who wouldn't take that. As far as the crypto cycle, again, in this video, I'm going to get into how this cycle is putting people to sleep or is giving people false impressions. Now, I'll say for the most part, people who haven't done scientific research, they look for patterns in the world. And you've probably heard the saying before, and I see this all the time in my field of psychology when I work with patients. Correlation does not equal causation. Okay, if there's a correlation, that doesn't mean that thing is going to happen again because something's similar. For an example, when I'm talking to someone who's had a lot of relationship problems and trauma, and certain things have happened before, and they say, I keep getting into these relationships where the same thing keeps happening again. Either I keep ending up with a cheater, I keep ending up with an alcoholic, whatever it is. Okay, that person's looking at it from the correlation lens, not what's causing it. And most of the time, what's causing it is something internal, something that they don't realize they're not paying attention to within themselves. And so we want to take a look at those things before they happen and be smart enough to say no to those unhealthy things when they pop up again. And so like I was telling y'all how most of the alts I got wrong in 2017, but the couple I did, they paid off. They made up for it. I am looking for those unhealthy things so I can say no to them this cycle, which I did. I did a great job of that in the last cycle. I'm looking to do that even better this time around. So we don't want to think in patterns. We don't want to think in correlations. I've shared with you how this pattern, the cyclical nature of crypto, it increases consumer confidence. Each halving, you can see on this rainbow chart, each halving, it goes up a color band. There's a pattern. Each peak goes down a color band. There's a pattern. And so when I'm saying I'm looking for the orange bands to be a top, I'm not saying that has to happen, but we have increased confidence in the cycle to believe that is a highly or a more probable conclusion to come to. Again, we're looking for probabilities and we're looking for cause. I want you to remember those two things. The probability of something happening and what can cause something to happen, or what is the data that we are looking for. We'll go through your favorite altcoins and your miners. I want to talk about the macro stuff first, and then I'll do chart analysis for anything you guys request. If it's a Bitcoin mining stock, if it's an altcoin on Robinhood or Coinbase, I'll get into that. Let's start off with the S&P 500. This is just on the daily, and what do we see here? S&P 500, lower highs, lower lows. Do not be surprised if this trend continues. We see it come back down to this 5,900 level, give or take. So just something to keep an eye on. Doji means undecided, but it is in this little downward pattern. As far as the VIX, the volatility index of the S&P, it's low, so it's still risk on. Something I am watching is that the percent of stocks above their 200-day average, it was just recently at least as far as the last year or so, at one of those local lows. So now what we want to see is it get above these resistances on the 200, and then that's bullish. That'll be bullish if that happens. Okay. Unemployment rate, this should be bullish news. It's gone down again. So anyone wondering why the Fed's not cutting rates? Well, inflation still looks like it wants to go up, so it's not under control, and unemployment is going sideways and possibly back down. Overall, this is still an uptrend, but it is definitely not spiking up, so that's good for everyone out there who's employed. But as far as getting inflation under control, the Fed is probably still nervous about that. Getting into Bitcoin, this is just on the daily. So zooming way in, what do we see here after this big move down? It got bought up off the 100-day moving average, came up, rejected off some of these trend lines and things going on up there. But what did we see? The 50-day moving average Bitcoin is losing it. And when it came up in price, what did we see? It was getting sold at the 20-day and the 50-day. And so we're seeing the candle body stay under. Do not be surprised to see Bitcoin come down towards 93K. Van the Man, if each halving goes up a color band and each top goes down a color band, that means this is the last cycle to make massive gains. Let's double check that. Let's make sure. So I would say there is something called diminished returns, but that doesn't mean massive gains still can't be made. Instead of getting a 10,000x like you could in 2013, or a 100x back here, or a 10 to 20x last cycle, this time be conservative in our approach. That's all I'm preaching here. Is a lot of people, if they're lucky enough, they get in early or they buy the fear, they're smart. But then when their price targets hit, they're like, oh, this is going to keep going up. It is okay to take a 5x. I don't know why in the world of crypto people are so greedy. They see people become millionaires. I get it. If anyone investing in stocks were to get a 5x within a year, they would take it. You see NVIDIA, Palantir, people will take that. But I want you to keep track of something right now. Van the Man, if you take a look at the yellow band Bitcoin is in now, that is at 90 to 121K. All right. Now, maybe the top is in the orange bands. That's part of my thesis, because I also see that on the chart as well. It's a fib target. I have a Fibonacci target. But this yellow band, even for the value it's at now, let's say the yellow band is the top next cycle. Let's zoom out a little bit. Good, it has the next halving up there. Where is the yellow band next cycle? 236 to 300K. And so if Bitcoin within the next year and a half, we get an alt season and Bitcoin falls down, I don't know, the halving here was in this green band. We can see the bottoms here, get to the dark blue. Let's say Bitcoin 2026, 27, let's say it gets down to that lower blue zone again. 70K. Let's give it the highest number there. 70K. All right. Bitcoin tops 150 to 200K this cycle. That's what I think would probably happen. 130 to 150K at the lowest. But let's say Bitcoin, it does its top 150K, comes down to 70K. All right. And the top is in the yellow zone next cycle. If that pattern continues, well, 70K to 240 or 300, that's still a 3 or 4x if you get the bottom and the very top. So gains can still be made. I think each cycle, I've seen this happen with people, not just myself. Each cycle, people, they gravitate more towards the large caps and Bitcoin because they're the safest return on investment. And people are like, I'd rather take the almost fully probable 100% guaranteed. Nothing's 100% guaranteed, but I'd rather take the most probable 3x than a 10% low probability chance at a 10x. That's what crypto does to people. So I do think there are still great gains to be made, but those are diminished returns. That is what this logarithmic regression shows us. Log scale, factors of 10, it regresses over time, diminished returns. Going back over to the Bitcoin cycle, let's zoom out a bit. So like last March, which the fear and greed index is showing some similarities to, you see the candle wicks never truly got above. Yes, there was a new all-time high here at the time, the 74K. The candle bodies were never closing above. It's why I use Hikinashi. When it finally closed above that all-time high line right here, that gray line, it got stuck at the 1618. We talked about this. This was our fib target. And I drew this out. You can go back, watch prior videos. There were some things I got right, some things I got wrong. But we drew this fib target, took it off log. We said, watch for 102K when it breaks out. It might stall there. I said that many times. And that is what's happened. It got up to 102K, stalled. Got up to 102K, and it's stalling again. Let's get rid of that channel, clear things up. These are buy and sell signals, by the way. And on my channel, I try to share the indicators I use, the data I use, so we can have a conversation. I am not claiming to be more of an expert than any of you. Maybe in the field of psychology and the work I do, probably more than most of you. But if you can't replicate a strategy or an indicator strategy that others use, you shouldn't use it. And you shouldn't just take my word for it. So here are the two indicators. I also use the fibs a lot, and I think those are the easiest, best indicators. And I rather be very good at something simple than be decently good at something that takes more expertise. Okay. I'd rather be an expert in something or in fewer things. So we have a sell signal here, and in the past, you see with Hikinashi candles, which try to catch the trend, with this sell signal, 2 weeks down, 4 weeks down, that's kind of the average. So I would not be shocked to see 2 weeks down. Now, what is this trend line right here by these 20-week moving averages? And that trend line goes back to this double top from 2021. So that trend line and the 20-week moving average around 89K. And anytime an asset gets a big move above all the moving averages, eventually it does come back down to them. And the question is, where is it going to find support? Last year, it found support at the 50-week moving average. Now, the 50-week is classically one of the moving averages or indicators. That's the dividing line between bullishness and bearishness. Not that you shouldn't buy things when they're bearish, obviously, but it had a nice bounce off it. And so difference between bullish and bearish, that's around where 75K is. And so maybe you're seeing some people out there talk about 75K. That's why. We might only get a small correction somewhere around the high 80Ks, or as I showed you on the daily, the 100 moving average, around 93K. We have to see that break first. We have to see that double top trend line break here. So 93, 89, okay, if it got through those, and that we just go down the line. We take it one thing at a time, right? I see people make big predictions. Let's take it one step at a time first. Remember, Van the Man, how we were talking about that orange band. The orange band covers this fib area. And by the way, if we go to the prior cycles and draw fibs and look at price targets, each cycle, the fib targets get lower and lower, okay? So last cycle, let's turn this on here. We're going to draw our fib, try to get it as nice as we can, okay? We have to make sure our fib's off log. So that top was right, and let me scroll over, was right in between the 3618 and 4236, the 2021 November top. Now the earlier top, that one got to the 3618. The prior cycle before, it hits a way higher fib. Okay, this is, again, it's what the rainbow chart's showing us. I believe it is like the 11618 or something. You're going to have to trust me, bro, on this one, or do your fibs yourself. But the point is, this is showing us what the rainbow chart is showing us, that if last cycle Bitcoin only got to these fib extensions, the 2618 to the 4236, I'm not looking for that height of fib extensions this time around. I'm looking for the 1618 to the 2618. Again, last cycle, it got up in this range. That was the top. And so one reason I would say we might still get back up there, if we do, would be inflation. Since last cycle, our dollars are worth 25% less. And you can look this up. It's around 25%. So if our dollars were worth the same as last cycle or close to it, maybe we would look 1618 to 2618. But we had 25%. I mean, you can see that number over at the side. 195K, give or take. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see things go higher. It's not that Bitcoin's worth more. One factor is, again, in today's video, we want to get into the how and the why. One factor could be our dollars being worth less, okay? Let's also show our log regression. Oh, I have to turn off one of my indicators. I'm still using the free version until I start making a good amount of money on this. Sorry, this is going to have to be how it goes, but this is probably what a lot of you are working with too. That 2618, the 1618, look at that. It's right in this log regression band. And so we see that here. The peak in 2017 got about 3/4 of the way up. The peaks in 2021 got about 80%, halfway up, a little bit more. So you just stretch that out whenever the top is. You know, maybe it's later this year. Maybe it's at the start of next year. That lines up with that 2618 target. Maybe even higher. Who knows? So I think there's some data, the log regression, the fibs, the rainbow chart, that shows the top is not in yet. And if the top is not in yet, or we are not topping yet, then why would we get alt season? Now, there's other factors to look for. This is the big thing, what I wanted to talk about today. Let's take a look at the other charts that show when alt season's happening. The most classic one is Bitcoin dominance. And you can see here, I drew a fib from the high to the low, from the last cycle high to the recent low. Bitcoin dominance got up to the 786 at around 64%. All right, let's get rid of that because there's too many lines. I'm going to have a seizure. Going to give you guys a seizure. I don't want to do that. So Bitcoin dominance, when we have alt season, it's when Bitcoin dominance goes down. It collapses for about 4 to 6 weeks. It started to go down here. This is truly when it started, the end of March, or overall, it was during the month of April, first week of May. That was when Bitcoin dominance tanked. Okay. April, the month of April in 21, the later half of December, first week of January in 2017. Now, this time around, one thing I was looking at compared to last cycle, this was part of my bias. I was thinking the top of Bitcoin dominance was right here. I was feeling pretty good about myself, and it just made a newer high this cycle. Part of the reason I was looking for that area is that last cycle compared to the 2017 cycle, we saw the peaks of Bitcoin dominance come down a bit. And so I was looking for a similar pattern to emerge that this would continue. Well, that trend line, that broke out right there. Okay, so maybe we start to shift from a diminished Bitcoin dominance to more of a horizontal view. We have to be okay adjusting our views when we're wrong on things, and I was wrong about this being the top. Now, in my defense, part of what happened was Bitcoin dominance. You see this red line? It loved the 20-week moving average, and it broke under it. Now, you heard me just talk about how the 50-week moving average is the dividing line between bullishness and bearishness. So what I should have been looking for, I should have been following my own words and looking for Bitcoin dominance to get under the 50-week moving average to turn bearish. It didn't do that. It bounced off of it. And in this area right here, before Bitcoin dominance had this recent spike, Ethereum Bitcoin was making a new low. And we were talking about that on this channel. Why was Ethereum Bitcoin making a new low, but Bitcoin dominance wasn't making a new high? Well, it turns out now we have our answer. Okay, this was just telling us what was going to happen. And we didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it. And so Ethereum Bitcoin is still making a new low. Now it got close to the 786 around 0.14. And so when you see this chart, Ethereum divided by Bitcoin, what is this showing us? Okay, let's turn this moving averages back on, by the way. Remember what I said about the 50-week? We need to see Ethereum Bitcoin to get above this 50-week in order to turn bullish. That's when we can see alt season. That is the how. Okay, Van the Man, you asked about, things to look for to know how we know that we're going to get alt season. We need to turn bullish on Ethereum Bitcoin. We need to turn bullish on Total 3 Bitcoin. We need to turn bullish on others Bitcoin. And so you can see here from that dip, it was only, look at that 50-week given rejection. Now this was June of 2020 when it truly started to break above. Let's take a look at Bitcoin from June of 2020. Where was Bitcoin in June of 2020? That's this cycle, May, June. Would you look at that? Bitcoin June of 2020 was also getting ready to pretty much just go straight up. Only a couple minor corrections from there. And so once Ethereum Bitcoin was flipping bullish, which again, 50-week moving average, one of the classics to look for. That's why we use this indicator. That's when alt season truly just started. Okay. Now the climax of alt season, the pinnacle of it, is of course when dominance tanks. But we still have that beginning way back here. And it's not to say, by the way, that we can't get amazing discounts and low prices and accumulate our favorite alts and miners right now. We can absolutely do that. But that does not mean that alt season has to happen tomorrow. When alt season happened in 2017, it was here. It was here when Ethereum Bitcoin bottomed and went up. And remember, Ethereum divided by Bitcoin, you see these different points up here, 0.37, 0.56. We have this trend line. You might ask yourself, what does that mean, Ethereum dash Bitcoin? Well, let's go over to coin market cap. I'll explain it like this. Ethereum Bitcoin, at the percent it's at right now, it is at 0.17%. What that means is by market cap, this is about 17% of Bitcoin. Ethereum's market cap compared to Bitcoin is 17%. You can do the math right now. 314 billion divided by 1.9 trillion. Okay, that's about 17%. And so last cycle, or the last two cycles, when Ethereum Bitcoin was getting up to 0.6, 0.5, alt season ended around here, 0.4. Okay, maybe we see something similar. It doesn't have to peak and be 0.5. Again, 0.5 would mean Ethereum's market cap is half of Bitcoin's market cap. So if we just treated the numbers the same, let's say Bitcoin's at 2 trillion, make it easy. Then we're looking for Ethereum to be close to 1 trillion. Okay, but let's say, again, last cycle, we didn't even need that. The cycle before, it was pretty much at that trend line though. The last cycle, it ended about right here. Okay, so about 40%. So if Ethereum only needs to get to 40% of Bitcoin's worth, and by the time alt season's finishing, okay, we're not there yet. We're not there yet for Bitcoin dominance. We're not there yet for Ethereum Bitcoin. And so people might talk about, I see this a lot out there, that, well, from every halving, and I even have that on my charts. Let's go to it. I'll show you what they talk about. They say, well, from every bottom, from every cycle, you add all those numbers up from every bottom to every peak, you divide it, that's around 850 days. And so I said, okay, let's put that on the chart. That would be in March of this year. If you believe in the time it takes from bottom to peak, that's March of this year. Cool. Some people say, well, no, it's not from the bottom. It's actually from the halving. Okay. And so from every halving, that's the white line, to the eventual peak, you add them up from prior cycles, divide that number. That's 484 days. It's around September or August. Before, and I erased this from the chart, people said, no, it's not that. It's from every time Bitcoin breaks the former all-time high, it's this number of days. And that top showed at the end of this year. And so there's all these different time scales. I can give you half a dozen or more different correlations to make an argument for when the top might be. Correlation does not matter. Again, we're looking for cause, the how and the why. Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance is not done topping, for all we know. It's not turned bearish. Ethereum, Bitcoin is not done bottoming and is not turned bullish. And so we're not seeing the alt season how and why this time around, which very simply put is this. We're not seeing that yet. Now, from this chart, you can see it can turn around in a month. It might take a year and a half to turn around, 600 days, give or take. I don't know how much time it's going to take, and I don't care. But I am putting my money where my mouth is. I believe that Ethereum, Bitcoin, others Bitcoin will bottom, and they will rise again. And the sentiment out there right now gives me all the more reason to believe it. You take a look at the sentiment and who is feeling bearish and like the top is almost in and there's no alt season. What have those people been putting their money into? They've been putting their money into Solana garbage meme coins, Hawk Tua coin, Trump coin, all the other crap, Popcat, Whiff, all this useless, pointless stuff. That's why I spend more time talking about utility. Now, I will entertain certain meme coins. We have to give credit where it's due. Doge and SHIB, they did great last cycle. And so forward thinking, what would be some of the top meme coins? Those I feel safer with. Maybe Bonk, Pepe, who knows? Maybe Whiff is one of them. But that's why I rather focus on utility coins. Solala, thank you. I had a I don't know, I had a speech thing go on there. It just started to mumble. You look at the people who are capitulating right now, it's the degenerates. And does it not make the most sense? I was thinking about this a lot today. It makes so much sense that the bottom of Ethereum Bitcoin, the bottom of others Bitcoin, would happen around the time that all these degenerates give up. They say, this is all a scam, can't make money gambling at the Solana casino. This is horseshit. Sorry for the language if any kids are watching. I try to do good with that. They're like, I give up. This is crap. Guys, we're not going to get the true alt season while all that nonsense is going on. And it makes perfect sense that once that lot of people give up and that side of the retail market gives up, then maybe we see this bottom, and maybe that is somewhat close to when QE returns. Now, in my stock videos, I kind of talk about that sometimes with the M2 money supply, liquidity. What drives the markets? It's liquidity. That's why we talk about the unemployment. Liquidity is king. Trump putting out a meme coin is not the most powerful thing that can move crypto. All this stuff that is pro-crypto from this administration, sure, some of that is great. But remember, the last administration, people say we're anti-crypto, and it still did great. I'm of the mindset, I don't think it freaking matters. Because again, we're looking for the how and the why. Now, there's some bullish things to remember. We have ETFs now. But ask yourself this question. Would a large hedge fund or whale or billionaire, are they looking for a 20x from meme coins? No, they are fine with their millions of dollars getting a 50% return. They are fine with it. We are the people who make under 100K a year, around 100K. We're the ones looking for the 10x. Okay, we're trying to give ourselves a competitive advantage in a world that the wealth disparity constantly widens. Now, let me make the argument that's one of you out there watching. You're like, you know what? Ethereum sucks. Ethereum's dead. Everything else is doing great. Yeah, I don't care if Ethereum Bitcoin's going down. That doesn't mean jack squat. Well, let's get into others dash Bitcoin. What is others, you might ask? It's the total crypto market cap, all the crypto market cap, excluding the top 10. That's others. Others and others dominance, important charts to look at. I highly recommend having them on your list on TradingView. Now, this is my bullish outlook right now. Let's throw Ethereum out. Say, you know what? Screw Ethereum. Maybe you're right. Maybe Ethereum is dead. Let's not even take a look at the top 10 coins by market cap. We're going to throw Tron, Cardano, all these, Doge, some stable coins, Binance. We're going to throw all that crap out the window. We're going to take a look at the total market cap of everything else. Okay. That's what others is. Say, you know what? We have a channel here, and this recent dip in this channel, I'm on log, kind of goes to the bottom part of that channel. Could this be a bottom? Sure. But remember what I said about the 50-week moving average. We want to see bullishness. Now, Ethereum Bitcoin, it never got above the 50-week like this one did. Others does sometimes, but it never truly holds on to it. And by the way, this is why we use fibs in combination with moving averages. If a fib is broken, if a moving average is broken, you want to see it get to the next fib. So here the 50 moving average was broken, got to the next fib, rejection. That moving average was lost. The moving average was broken, got to the next fib, didn't get above it, came back down, moving average was lost. Okay, so that's one way to look at that. Now, this is others Bitcoin. Maybe this channel shows us a bottom, but until it turns bullish, nothing's confirmed. We can take a look at some other indicators. Let's take a look at the stochastic RSI. Okay, this shows there's still downwards to go. So maybe my channel gets invalidated. Let's take a look at the ultimate relative strength index. Okay, this is slowly just dying off. So this is telling me that maybe an end to this is coming soon. All right, great. Let's look at the regular RSI. This is showing me some possible bullish divergence. If we go to the monthly, not so much. That's still bearish. I was hoping it would show bullish divergence. It didn't. So let's take a look at another indicator that maybe suits our narrative. We want to see bullishness. Well, the MACD say no, it's just they're negative. So I would say with these indicators, just having an honest look, I would not be surprised others, Bitcoin goes lower. And maybe it goes to the 236. Now, some people, they say, well, when you draw a fib on an asset, two ways to look if something's bullish. One, if it gets above and stays above the 382 fib. And two, it's staying above the 50-week moving average. All right. Those are two arguments for it. But I would say with some of those indicators, do not be surprised. Do not be surprised to see this channel get broken and maybe come back down to one of these levels, the 0.09 or so. Luke, all manipulated. Hit my fist on the table, Luke. Scream it, man. Just say it. Let me get to the comments. Valentine, agree. By the way, thank you all for being here. I want this to be more of a conversation each cycle, so appreciate all the comments. You had it right at Solala. I saw that one. But do you think Ethereum Bitcoin could reach the 0.1 on the fib? That would hurt a lot. Let's go to that. Let's take a look at that. So in summary, actually, let me do this and then don't let me forget about total 3. Okay. Do I think it could reach 0.1? It could. It could. There's a couple ways to look at this. We have these, I would say this trend line ain't too bad. These descending tops. Ethereum seems to be bleeding against Bitcoin. Okay. Where was the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing bottom in 2017? It was here. Where was the bottom before 2021? It was here. So we're definitely seeing an overall downward trend. So could it get even lower and break 0.1? It could. It could. I don't know as far as the probability of that happening, what that would be. But we're losing supports here on these fibs. This 786, I would say it's an important one. Now this fib, by the way, this is a low to high fib. There's a couple different ways to look at it. We can go from, let's go from the very high to the very low. We can draw our fibs in many different ways. Look at that. It's right at the 236. Okay. Now maybe you're like, this wick, that was an outlier. Let's go from this other wick because that lines up with trend lines. All right. Well, still around the same thing. So I think with a couple fibs, it's possible we're close to a bottom on ETH Bitcoin. But if this is more of a horizontal chart and we still need the bottom, whether it's around 0.1 with the low to high fib, that might be the case. Now, let's take a look at what's the RSI showing. I mean, the RSIs are as low as they've ever been, really. And so we want to see some bullish divergence here. Now, divergence, it can take a while to play out. And here on the weekly, you can see some clear bullish divergence. Monthly, man, we want to see this spike and reverse. We haven't seen that yet. Or we want to see some monthly buy signals. How about that? Can we get those? Were there any monthly buy signals? Does this show buy signals? I'm not seeing any pop up. Sometimes I have to sometimes they don't work for certain charts. Maybe it doesn't for that one, for this one. So yeah, we definitely want to see a reversal going on. And right now it's just sinking. Let me go to the other comments. I bought Bonk at 0.4 and now it's around 0.16. I'm holding on for dear life. Oh boy. Yeah. If you bought, so I'm going to keep saying this. If you bought Bonk at 0.4, why did you buy it there? I'm not saying it was a bad choice. Maybe Bonk is one of the top 2 or 3 meme coin plays. But why did you buy it at 0.4? What did you like about it? And now that it is more than 50% off from when you bought it, why would you not buy more? It's your hard-earned money. Of course, don't spend more than you can afford to lose. But I'm going to keep saying this. If you like whatever crypto, I'm not going to blame anyone for liking any certain crypto. You guys do your research. There's too many coins to keep track of with all the possible utility and this or that. But if it's at more of a discount, pay attention to the handful of cryptos or assets you have. That's your advantage, paying attention. If you are looking at a variety, 10, 20 altcoins, and you can't pay attention to all of them in their charts, you're at a disadvantage there. It's better to have 5 to 10 or 3 to 5 and just pay attention to those. Then you'll know when the good discount times are coming. And some of them work out, some of them don't. Luke, all manipulated. We said that one. Bitcoin is looking similar to 2017 from halvings. We'll get into that, free toast. Let me come back to your comment there. Another chart I wanted to take a look at. We've talked about this. Total 3. Recently, Total 3, it got up to the former all-time high. It didn't break out, and in fact, it's coming down. Okay? So Total 3 in the past, when it broke out, let's go to the weekly so you can see it better. When it broke out past its all-time high, this was truly the start or the end of alt season. Alt season was really going on when it went from the 1618 to the 2618, but this is when it started to kick up. Now, we haven't gotten above the former all-time high yet. So, let's take Total 3. Again, this is total current market cap of crypto without Bitcoin or Ethereum. For any Ethereum haters out there, let's take Total 3 divided by Bitcoin. And you can see I have the tops shown for you. The FTX crash and the bottom, the 2017 top and the BitConnect crash. And so this is the comparison of all the market cap for Total 3 divided by Bitcoin. When do we get alt season? Well, you can see the data at the bottom. It's right in here was alt season as it was coming up. Okay. And the 2017 top, right in there. That's when we're getting alt season. So it's a little different than Ethereum Bitcoin. Now this fib I have drawn from how do I have this drawn? From the low to the high. Okay. And so, I'm looking for when is Total 3 Bitcoin going to bottom. But overall, let's combine all this. Total 3 dash Bitcoin. Others dash Bitcoin, Ethereum dash Bitcoin. At this point in the cycle, they're still making newer lows. Now, maybe the low is close. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's further out. Maybe Total 3 dash Bitcoin has a ways to go. Now, look what happened last cycle. After Ethereum Bitcoin bottomed right here, that was right here, by the way, it went up, and then we had a little bit of a correction to December of 2020. So look, man, that must have been painful for alts. And I remember this time from September to December. That was a very painful time for alts against Bitcoin. Probably the final capitulation. Look at that dive down. People are like, you know what? Last cycle, there's no alt season coming. Total 3 against Bitcoin's going to new lows. And then we all know what happened in 2021. January, February, March, April, May. That's when we got alt season. So all because these dipped down is not the end of the world. And I would argue that unless we see a true bottom, then we can't get alt season. So we want to see these things bottom. We want to see them turn up. One chart I want to look at more. People have been talking more and more about gold and how gold and Bitcoin has a relationship. So here's gold. It's going towards 3,000. That's what a lot of people are looking for. Let's add Bitcoin on here. Let's see if we find, I might have to get some water soon. Let's see if we find any sort of correlation. Again, we're looking for the how and the why. Well, last cycle when gold peaked, later on is when gold was coming down that we saw Bitcoin peaking. And why is that, you might ask? Well, gold going up happens in times of quantitative tightening. Okay, the Fed, they're keeping their belts tight. They're not lowering rates. Gold's going to go up. Gold is like Bitcoin or Satoshi values we're trying to maintain. Okay. When the market's volatile, gold is a safe play. But when it's risk on, quantitative easing, we might see a peak in gold and kind of a rotation. Now, gold is still going up. Bitcoin's still going up. Let's go to 2017. What happened in 2017? Here, I would say a little bit less overall. I mean, there was a peak here and here. And then, I mean, you could kind of say from this point, Bitcoin went up. I don't see enough to say, oh, yeah, this is why. I mean, this looks more like a peak than this does. So I get the argument. This is another comparison I've seen out there. I get it from 2021. Can we go to 2013, 2014? Well, here this one makes sense. Gold peaked. And look at this. On its way down, okay, gold was a more risk-on environment. And so we saw more money flowing into Bitcoin. So I think there's somewhat of a relationship there. So again, I'm looking for the how and the why. Not correlations, but what we want to see happen. We haven't seen QE return, quantitative easing. It's still quantitative tightening. Unemployment went down today by a notch. Quantitative tightening is probably going to continue, in my opinion. We haven't seen total 3-Bitcoin. We haven't seen Ethereum-Bitcoin. We haven't seen others-Bitcoin. We haven't seen those bottom yet and truly show a reversal. And we haven't seen Bitcoin dominance going down. It's still going up. All those things tell me we aren't close to alt season yet. Not to say we can't accumulate and be ready for alt season. But I started this video out showing you what I'm looking for Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin's relationship with alt season? Well, Bitcoin, let's go to a cleaner chart. Let's go to this one. What's Bitcoin's relationship with alt season? Well, we're going to add on dominance, and you can see it for yourself. When did dominance truly tank? Okay, here's where it's leveling out. And remember what I said, end of March. Okay, Bitcoin was pretty much topping here. When did dominance tank? End of March into the first week of May. Bitcoin was topping as alt season was finishing. Bitcoin was topping as alt season was finishing. Let's go to 2017. What do we see there? Well, there is this peak up in dominance, which peaked up with the top. And what happened after the top? Bitcoin topped. And once it topped, then we had the rotation. I'm going to keep saying this, and I don't feel this is sinking in for enough people that are out there. We're not even close to having that rotation, in my opinion. Now, I showed you other hows and whys to look for. We've seen QE return before, and that's when we can see risk on with crypto assets. Crypto is still a risky tech asset. It's not quite digital gold yet. Crypto goes the way that the tech industry goes. There's a good relationship between Bitcoin and NVIDIA. Let me show you that. We'll do Bitcoin and NVIDIA. And just to prove my point here, okay? Look at that correlation there. NVIDIA. So again, what am I talking about here? When here it's a little bit different, of course. But the last two cycles, that when it is risk on, that includes Bitcoin. It's not the safest hedge or digital gold quite yet. It hasn't gotten there yet. It's still a risky tech asset for a lot of people with a lot of money. And so we need to see Bitcoin top. We need to see that rotation happen. We need to see Ethereum, Bitcoin bottom. And as I said, I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know if, like 2017, Ethereum Bitcoin's going to bottom, and then in the span of a month, boom. In the span of a month, we get alt season. Or last cycle, this took 600 days till alt season. We measured that out earlier. We need those factors. All right, so I'm glad Van the Man told me about what he saw on Reddit. Van the Man, I've been seeing the same things on Reddit and X. And most of the people I see talking like that are the Solana degenerate gamblers, or Solala, as we'll start calling them. Those people, it makes so much sense to me that when they capitulate and when they believe there's no alt season, it's all over, we're done, we're finished, it's going to be near the bottom, and then we can start going. Let's get to some comments. Free Toast. Bitcoin is looking similar to 2017 from halving. Let's take a look at that. 2017 from halving. So the white line is the halving here. Went down a little. Okay. We had the peak, went down. I mean, it was more straight up. Let's add on the moving averages. For the weekly, it would come down, touch the 50-week just at one time after the halving, and then it just kept bouncing off the 20-week about 5 times. Let's go to today. Let's take a look. So since the halving, I have it marked with that white vertical line. It came down to the 50. I see what you're saying. Not a bad find. I have been hearing increased comparisons with 2017. So, Free Toast, he says Bitcoin is looking similar to 2017 from halvings. Eyes wide open emoji. Went down to the 50 week, and then it started bouncing off the 20. So we hit the 50 week last August. And so what you would be somewhat saying is that we're about right here, January of 2017. Well, we just finished January, so we're not too far off. It's the start of February. We hit the 50 week. Maybe we're about to hit the 20 week, and we're in January of 2017, a year away from alt season. That lines up with the 4-year cycle. I'm not opposed to that. I wouldn't be surprised if that plays out. Man, the reason I bonked at that level was because I remember SHIB and Doge skyrocketing last cycle at around the same sentiment. Okay, so right there, that's something to be careful of. If it's in the news, it's in the price. And with crypto news is really, the big trends you see on Twitter. If it's in the news, it's in the price. If people are talking about it, it's probably already in the price. So crypto is kind of fun. A lot of people get so tribal and territorial in crypto. And that's because, well, a few reasons, but one, it pays to be a contrarian to a lot of the things people say. There's a lot of people who just give unbelievable price targets, and you don't know if they're trying to scam you, if they're in a cult, if they're delusional, if they're stupid. And disagreeing with people, it fires them up. But a lot of times, these scammers, these retail people, these degenerates out there on the Solala network, which we'll call them now, you go contrary to what they say, it's usually going to pay off. I missed out that time, so I bought this time during the hype, and I'm a clown. You're not a clown, man. I'm not going to let you talk about yourself like that. Okay, you said you bought Bonk at, what was it, 40 or at 0.4? So, oh yeah, you bought it up here. All right, so you bought it at the former all-time high. You got to be careful of that. Now, let this be a learning experience. Sometimes the most valuable experiences are the expensive ones, whether it be college or investing. This is a learning experience. Okay, I share my indicators with y'all to help with this. Okay, very simply, you see how this is on a weekly downtrend. You can wait for the next weekly buy signal. Make sure your chart's on log and that you have the candles on Heikin-Ashi. 1020 MA crossover with Heikin-Ashi signals. If you don't like that one and you want more confirmation and you're more risk averse, UT bot alerts is a good one. It's not going to appear as soon. It's not as much risk on as this indicator is, but you can wait for a buy signal. Now, again, some of these buy signals can be freaking big. So, that's why I lean more towards the 1020 MA buy signal. You can wait for that. You can wait for the stochastic to flip positive. So if you still like bonk, wait for the stochastic to flip positive. And I don't know what you're okay with budgeting, but I'm not saying budget your rent away or anything like that. Obviously, what you can afford to lose, because we don't know if bonk is going to be a dead project and just go to zero. We don't know that. But if you like bonk, you wait for that positive flip in the stochastic buy signals, the MACD, right? That way you're getting in here. And look at the fear and greed. What's the sentiment out there? Are all the Solala degens capitulating? All right. That's usually around the bottom. And, recent price down here. Heck, I was looking at buying some bonk recently. So you're not a clown. You learned a lesson. Chips and salsa. Oh my God. Hey, bro. Hope you're doing well, Chips and salsa. I don't know why, but when I see your name, it just puts a smile on my face. I love that someone gave themselves a name of Chips and salsa. It's awesome. Valentine, interesting. Thumbs up. Also, I am worrying. I saw a worrying sign on the stochastic RSI. There is a bearish divergence with Bitcoin going up, but RSI on high levels. What do you think of that? And then chips and salsa or free toast. Do you think QE will start in Mars? Pretty sure you meant March. Do I think QE will start in March? Well, with the unemployment being what it is today, ticking down, and let's take a look at inflation. I don't know when the next inflation data is coming out, but if unemployment's going down and inflation is still in an uptrend, probably not would be my guess. Now, Trump, what I've read out there is part of the reasons behind the tariffs and all these things is he sees the writing on the wall. He knows the Fed isn't going to cut rates like he wants. And so that's the reason for some of these economic policies he's doing. And that his policies will lower the dollar and the yield. So let's go to the DXY, which is the dollar. All right, the dollar. Let's get off. Let's go to this. The dollar has been coming down. So there's the 50-day. Let's see if it gets under that. How about the 10-year yield? 10Y. US 10Y. Duh. And the yield's been coming down. So maybe there's a correlation between the tariffs, the dollar, and the yield. When the yield and the dollars are spiking, that's not always good for markets, especially with the yields. There are other channels I feel explain those macroeconomic factors way better than I could. And those channels, those people are a lot smarter about that stuff. So that's something to pay attention to. Now, as the dollar and the yields go down, I've seen this argument, QE can come in different ways. And so maybe that's something to pay attention to. And so whether the Fed going to be the one doing QE, or is it going to be from the economic policies of the Trump administration? And I'm not taking any sides, pro or anti. I'm just trying to give the information as I see and hear it. So chips and salsa, I've been in cash for months, but just bought a little AVAX here. Instantly lost 5%. I'll buy more at 22 if we get it. Let's go to AVAX in a minute. But let's go to what Valentine was talking about with the bearish divergence with Bitcoin going up. Let's go to the clean Bitcoin chart that I have. And so Valentine, he's talked about the stochastic RSI. Okay. Yeah, that is bottomed out on the daily. Let's go to the weekly. Ooh, yeah, I see what you mean. That's a genuine reaction there, folks. Yeah, here's the thing, though. Again, we started this video by saying correlation's not causation. I've seen these RSIs fall off a cliff from the overbought to the oversold, and the price stays within a 5% range. Okay. Here, Bitcoin, what was the percent of the correction there? I don't know. 20%. So totally opposite of what I just said. That was probably another 20%. Can we find any? Can we find any here to prove my point? Not that one. Definitely not that one. So maybe this one. Maybe. That might be our most friendly one. But you can see overall. So, 20%, I guess. When these flip over, 20% at the least. Okay, let's just stick with that. But I swear to God, you'll have to trust me, bro. I've seen these flip all the way up to down, and maybe it was 5 to 10%. I don't know. Let's go there. Let's measure this out. What have we gone down already? Well, the stock RSI peaked up here, and we've already dipped 17%. And so, yes, this may dip lower or become oversold, but maybe that 20% is just around where that 20-week moving average is. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Why did I touch the fib? Here we go. So where's 20%? 20%, 86, 87K. Heck, what if it falls off more? What if it's 30%? Okay, then it's around the 50-week moving average. So this has already fallen a bit. I see what you're saying. Let's take a look at the regular RSI. I see what you're saying. And we've already had 17% down as well. RSI, this is concerning to me. So we have bearish divergence here. Now, bearish divergence can take a while to play out. And hopefully, I actually have something here for you. Take a look at Microsoft, for example. Look at how long this bearish divergence played out. Hell, it fell off a cliff and it still stayed within range of the highs. The peak of this started in July of 23. We're in 2025. So a year and a half away, if not a bit more. So divergence can take a while to play out. And by the time the RSI corrects, doesn't mean I have to get back to that price. But, you have to take it for what it's worth on the chart you have. Let's take a look at one more. I like where your head's at, by the way, Valentine. The last one, because we do get those divergences and we have to be mindful of that maybe, I look at it in short, medium, and long term, like the next month or two, the next 6 months, and then the next year plus. Ultimate RSI is overbought. Okay, now if it's curling over, you can see it's maybe going to cross under the orange line. Last time that happened, Bitcoin, it came down from 63 all the way to 53. It lost another 10K, which isn't too bad, saying that out loud, knowing how volatile Bitcoin can be. Like, it only lost 10K from here. So, if it lost 10K and got down to the mid 80s, again, we said that's fine. That's still technically bullish. And the ultimate RSI only ended right here. As far as Bitcoin dominance, this is something to keep in mind. The ultimate RSI, we want to see this start getting oversold. Now, look at this little false alt season dump there. Came up, and then it was the second time, so there's some, I guess you could say, bearish divergence. We just want to see this thing get freaking bearish. It's been in the overbought area for RSI for too long. And so, yeah, Valentine, I like where your head's at. With all that being said, I think that's part of the reason why I'm micro bearish. There's other reasons, but also, look at March. Look at March, how we went down. Look at these candles. We're not getting through the 1618. We have a recent sell signal. We have those RSIs, as he pointed out, saying there's still time to go down. We have these Heikin-Ashi candles that usually go by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 at the worst. So we might still have a couple weeks. And we also have the 50-day getting bought up, rejected, the 20-day, 10-day getting bought up, rejected. So there's a lot of signs saying, maybe it goes down to 93K. Remember that 20%? comparison we were talking about. I mean, that's 15. This was 17, so we're a little closer there. Where would 20 be? So 20 is kind of right in between that double top trend line from 2021 and the 200-day moving average. So maybe we see Bitcoin settle in this range between 84K and 94K. Maybe that's where the true bottom will be, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to look at buying altcoins here. Let's see. I see. Thank you. All in all, in the worst case, it would be a beautiful opportunity to get more. Exactly. Valentine gets it. Gold star. And then 85K to 150K, right? Yeah. And then hopefully, if it does get to 85K, the 200 moving average, maybe that's when Ethereum, Bitcoin, Total 3 Bitcoin, others Bitcoin, maybe that's when they actually bottom. Maybe. AVAX, chips and salsa. I'm sorry. I've been leaving you hanging as we've been talking about RSIs and shit. So AVAX, 10 billion market cap. It's at $24. You said you're going to buy more at 22. Oh my God. Look at that 7-day percent. 30% off, people. Man, if you bought AVAX a week ago, it's 30% down. Let's take a look at AVAX. We're having a fire sale. Everything must go. Bonk and AVAX. So, all right. AVAX, I just did a video on it yesterday, right? Breaking under that trend line, breaking under that wedge, and it is losing that 382. So, that's on the daily. Now, you said $22. Let's take a look. Yeah, 22. Look where this peaked down here. That's about 21 and a half. 22 would be, 22's in the range of these lows. I do see a possible channel forming. Possible. I don't know. Sometimes maybe I'm seeing it wrong. But instead of the trend lines there. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at. I was wondering, I'm like, why is that stopping right there in the middle out of all those things? Let's get rid of this because this is being invalidated right now. Yeah. All right. That channel's working out. Let's get rid of these trend lines. So that makes sense why it stopped there. We can draw this. Let's go back here because it kind of lines up in there as well. It's not perfect. Doesn't need to be. But it's tested the lower part of the channel. And on the daily, it is losing the 382. So if it gets down, do yourself a favor, draw this channel. And if it gets down to the lower end of that, it's been honored before, around $21. And the lower end, by the time it gets there again, it might be around that $21 range. So you think maybe 18 is a better buy? I think that's what you meant. Yeah, of course, any discount you can get is better. That 236 is at around $17 or $16.77, give or take. This fib says $16.85, but I'm sure my fib is a smidge off. You can set a buy order for $17. See if it hits. When it got to this price, it was at $17.30. So you can set different buy orders depending on your budget, whatever it is. And it may hit, it may not. Maybe you set a few different buy orders. One for 21, one for this fib, 17. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I don't need 17. I'm fine with 18. And if it goes to 17, fine. But I don't need that extra 5%. Who cares? So the way I talk about how to buy altcoins on this channel, you can look for the trend lines. Okay, this is a trend line, the lower trend line of this channel. You can look at moving averages. We're well below that. We can look at fibs. We can look at horizontal trend lines too. Okay, those could be times you can set buy orders and look for those price targets. That's one way of doing it. You're like, you know what? I'm not going to miss this discount no matter what. The other way, as I was talking with my name is Van the Man, is that with his bonk situation that you look for confirmation with the MACD, with the stochastic RSI, with the buy signals. Okay. Because you might get your price target and then it keeps falling. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, if you could get AVAX at around 18, I don't think, that'd be great. But if you're like, you know what, when it gets to this, if it gets to the channel trend line again around 21 and you're like, I'm not going to miss that price, I don't blame you. And yeah, it might go under it, but I wouldn't blame you for not buying it. Are we in a bear market now? I mean, none of this looks bullish. Let me pull this up. No. In my opinion, no. Why? Bitcoin, it's still in an uptrend. It's still above the 50-week moving average. So I talked about this with stocks. Let's go to the weekly moving averages. Bitcoin's extended right now, and it's going sideways and it's chopping. But unless we break under 75K, and not just a wick, but a candle body, so like in March when it made a new all-time high last year, and then it went sideways down for a while, it wicked under the 50 week. It wicked under, but it never closed there. It wicked on it twice, got bought up. We weren't bearish then. This is the dividing line between bullish and bearish. But again, be careful with those words, because when people say bullish, I hear the fear. And when I hear the fear, that's a lot of times when people don't buy. Are we bearish now? Well, what if we do get under the 50 week? What if Bitcoin got down to 60K? Are you telling me you wouldn't buy it? I would. So when we are bearish, I will use my confirmation indicators more, because things can easily turn into a falling knife. But I am not missing those prices. In a bearish market, I am very aggressive, but I'm also using those confirmation indicators way more. And I am dollar cost averaging in heavy in bearish. In bullish markets, it's hard, but you got to be patient. And you have to look at the greedy people like there's something wrong with them. Like they're in a cult and you're just people watching. You're like, what is up with those people? Like if you're a non-Comic-Con person and you're at Comic-Con just looking around, you can recognize, be like, okay, that's cool for these people, but something's a little off. No offense to any Comic-Con people. I have friends who make those outfits and go to that. I love them. That's a great thing. But it's one of those things, I watch it, and yes, there's a little bit of judgmentalness on my side. Not going to lie. I think it's cool, but not my shtick. Okay, all I'm saying is it's okay to be a little judgmental when we're very bullish and look around and be like, something's wrong with you people. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe not the best comparison. All right, so no, we're not in a bear market. We are very extended from the moving averages, but we're not in a bear market. We are stalling at the 1618. All right. So at this point of the live stream, I'm going to change gears and let's get into technical analysis. I'm going to start going through TA of individual altcoins on Coinbase and Robinhood, and going through TA on miners. So if you have a request, like Chips and Salsa did for AVAX, or like Van the Man did for Bonk, please comment below. I'd be happy to do some TA on those altcoins for you, and I'll also go through some other ones as well. Let's start with Ethereum. So Ethereum, man, so bearish. I mean, this kind of reminds me of Bonk a little bit. So Chips and Salsa asking if we're bearish. Look at Ethereum. The candle body, yes, it's still in the 50 week, but man, look at that wick. We have this wedge trend line. We have the 200 week all getting bought up. People are buying this up. They love it. Okay. Bearish isn't a bad thing for ETH. People will buy that. And there's still plenty of people who believe ETH can 4x from here. So you can wait for confirmation, But remember, when we're bearish, we're looking for discounts. Ethereum coming down here looks like it's, it had that big wick. It got bought up off the 200 week, as we talked about, this trend line, this 618 fib, but it's slowly coming back down to the 618 fib. So there's probably going to be a decent amount of buyers there at around 2,500, 25. But if it loses that 618 and we do get one more large flush, then you're looking for 0.5. Okay. So what does that 0.5 mean? From the high to the low, as Ethereum's come back up, had this run, it has come back down to the 0.5. Okay. And we've seen that happen almost 3 times here. Last August, September, just recently in February. So people like this area of 21 to 2,200. They buy that up. And if Ethereum gets under that 618, look at all these buyers. So we're talking about Ethereum, Bitcoin. When could it bottom? I would be looking for price targets in this area, 2,500 to 2060, give or take. Bear market at Bitcoin, 100K prices. What a time to be alive. Yeah, thank you, Free Toast. People are talking bear market, and we're at 100K, 96K. Bear market. I remember when Bitcoin was at freaking 1,000. I remember when Ethereum was at like $300 or something, whatever it was in 2017. Where was it in 2017? When I was getting in the market, it was around this June time, $200. I could have loaded the boat on $200 Ethereum. And I would add a 10x, at certain times a 20x. But yeah, Ethereum, I still think Ethereum can go. And the fibs, remember what we were talking about with Ethereum, Bitcoin, that 0.5 trend line? It's been a while since we talked about it on this video. But I said, if Ethereum, Bitcoin hit that 0.5 trend line, its market cap would be half of Bitcoin. And so right now, Ethereum's market cap is 300 billion, a little higher than that. So if it did a 4x, it would be at 1.2 trillion. Okay. And if it was 0.5, this would be 2.4 trillion. So 1.2 trillion, give or take. Well, not too far away from that's where the 2618 is. $11,000 Ethereum. Some people don't believe that'll happen. If that does happen, I think that would be around the time we're getting alt season. I know it sounds crazy from where we are right now. And hey, maybe those people saying Ethereum's dead are right. Okay, there's no guarantees. But I remember Ethereum not doing so well last cycle for a while too. And by the way, look at this. So Ethereum had this uptrend and it broke under it. Obviously, we had COVID. It's up to you how much you want to believe that or not. But do you want to know where Bitcoin dominance peaked? Right here. This is where Ethereum, Bitcoin bottomed, right here. So if Ethereum, Bitcoin, for all things being equal, has not bottomed yet, are we going to see something similar where it just breaks down and goes down sideways for a bit? So we have this trend. Ooh, this is very similar to last cycle in a way. We have this trend line, this lower ascending trend line. Okay. It broke underneath this last cycle when Ethereum, Bitcoin was done bottoming. And Ethereum still went lower. Okay. And so that's always possible. What would that fib look like from the high to the low? I'm curious. If we're just saying all things being equal, that would mean Ethereum coming back down. I'm going to exclude COVID here, but that would mean it coming back down to that 236, if not lower. And, another way to draw fibs, you go from the recent high, and if you drew it to a recent low, I'm not drawn to this low, I'm drawn to this one, but I'm moving the price out so we match this bottom. You see what I'm doing there? Okay. from this high down to this low, it got down to the 236. So all things being equal, if that happened and Ethereum this cycle from where it topped out, let's make sure it's on log, it got up to the 888, okay? No, we want the fib. If it goes back to the former low, if we're drawing a fib, and Ethereum's going back to its 236, like it did last cycle, that's at around, God, that number is so close, $1,260. $1,260. If a same move were to happen. $1,260 ETH. So, something to keep in mind. Can I move this fib out a little bit? How did I do? All right. Close enough. Let's get that bottom lined up. Close enough. So, could we see Ethereum dying and going down here? That's what happened last cycle. Could you imagine, by the way? So, people want to talk about how crap Ethereum is. Well, from the high to the low, come on. From the high to the low, it came back up to the 0.5 fib, and then it rejected back down from that minor fib, high to low, got back down to that 236 at 115. So I hope you guys are seeing how I'm drawing those fibs, by the way. Macro, high to low, and then from this peak, when you're looking for the discounts, you draw it to another low that you've seen before, okay? And it got bought right off the 236. Of course, we had the COVID crash, but that's what happened last cycle. Ethereum was going up. And again, Ethereum, Bitcoin did not bottom till right here. So if we are seeing anything similar this time around, look how much further alt season was away. It was a year and a half away, 600 days. Okay? 600 plus days. Again, 2017, it happened quicker. Okay, maybe alt season's 300 days. I don't care about the time. I don't care if it's 300, 600, 200. I care about what the charts are telling us. That Bitcoin is topping, making a top, that we're seeing that rotation, and Bitcoin dominance going down, Ethereum, Bitcoin going up, total 3-Bitcoin going up, others-Bitcoin going up, gold already peak, coming down, kind of buying into that narrative a little bit. But that's what I'm looking for. Okay? All right. Let's go to Dogecoin. I know there's some Doge fans who watch. So Doge got up to the 786. We're on the daily. Let's go to the weekly. Got up to the 786, and man, it's just been coming down. That 0.5, it's looming. And so 2 days down, 3 days sideways, 2 days down. Got bought up nicely off that 50-week moving average. So still technically bullish. But man, it is losing that 200-day. And so, again, as we draw our fibs, as we draw our micro fibs, we go from the most recent high, and you pick out whatever low you want, okay? Maybe the low is going to be this 0.5 trend line, okay? There's a 236 fib there at around 23.8. Maybe you believe it's this bottom right here. Let's go with that. And then that kind of lines up, by the way. That 0.5 was pretty close to where it got bought up at around 20 cents, 19, 20 cents. So right now, look at that price action, how it's settling on this micro 618. But if it breaks under that, then we're looking at that 19, 20 cent area again. And then 16 cents under there. So we have our macro fibs and we have our micro fibs. And we have our moving averages. Let's go to, we talked about AVAX. Let's go to XRP. How's XRP doing? XRP, US dollar. All right. So XRP, this fib, it is off log scale. It got to the 1618. Smart area to take profits. If you're buying XRP and an average of 50 to 60 cents, and it goes up to $3, you get a 6X, and it is the number 4 altcoin overall. I don't know why you wouldn't take profits there, but whatever. So not surprising, it's coming back down to these moving averages. On the daily, got bought up pretty nicely off that 100-day. And you can see, man, XRP, since this move started, this is the first weekly sell signal. Now, it did get bought up nicely off that 20-week moving average. Let's put our fibs back on log scale. So if XRP continues to be bearish, then we might see it come back down to the 50-week moving average and the 786 at around $1.30 if this continues. Do not be shocked to see XRP come down that far. Let's also draw a micro fib. I get questions time to time, how do I draw fibs? And so I'm going to try to show that more often. So speaking of micro fib, you can see that 0.5, if we're going from this point, that's right around where the price dipped down to, the 20-week moving average and the 0.5. So if it honors that, then I up the 382 and 236. I think that $1.30 level, if you love XRP, see what it does around there. And let's go over to Solana. Curious to see how Solana's doing. Now, not too long ago when I was looking at Solana, I thought, maybe it was getting ready to make a decent move up because it came down to the channel. These moving averages came up. I thought maybe it's going to challenge an all-time high and go higher. Right now, though, we do have higher lows, higher highs, but overall the way the market's going, so we want to see Solana get a bounce or settle at that channel and 50-week moving average at around 170 and see if that's when it can possibly flip back up. But that 1618 target for Solana, 413, that'd be about a 2x from here if it gets there. But you see where the moving averages are, and if we go to log scale, then you can see it wicked right back down to the 888. If that 888 breaks, it's back in that channel, the 100-week and the 786 at around 123 to 130. And its current price, it is holding on nicely, getting these bounces off the 200-day moving average. So if you love Solana, I don't hate this area, but I'd wait for confirmation, just the way Bitcoin's looking, or even that 888. I'm grabbing some water. Give me 10 seconds. Talking so much, my throat's getting a little dry. All right, I'm back. So next, let's go over to, do we have any requests? Let's check the comments. Yeah, and type in any requests, any altcoins you want to see some technical analysis on. Happy to look at them for you. Let's go to Chainlink. I'm feeling better. A week ago, I was feeling pretty sick. But overall, feeling better this week. Just the cough it's almost dead. I'm almost done with it. Link here, it's at the 200-day moving average. Don't hate it here, and it's near the lower end of the channel. So, you might set a buy order at around 16. But, one thing I will say is, after the last time Link was all the way up here, that to me that looks like kind of a head and shoulders, does it not? And then it had about that measured move down, I would argue. So from the neckline to the top, and then we draw it down from the neck to the bottom. Yeah, that's almost perfect. So yeah, I would say that head and shoulders played out quite nicely. That measured move, like that's pretty incredible. Crispy, what's up, man? And so, Chainlink, we want to see that reversal, but if you bought some here, I don't blame you. But to me, this just looks like it's fallen. And if it comes down to the 0.5, be careful with it. If we're looking at the weekly, we have a sell signal playing out. Though it does look like it's getting good buys down here. If you're able to get Chainlink around 16 to 18, which it's at right now, I don't think that's bad. But again, it's one of those things where if you love Chainlink, it's one of your darlings, and you're buying it here, remember, it could always go lower. And if you're okay buying it at 18, you should love buying it if it goes to 12. Crispy, I just came. Did you finish talking about Link? I was just kind of talking about it right now. At which levels are good to pick Link up? How do you see Link? How do I see Link overall? So glad you're here. You missed some important stuff. So overall, we talked about how we want to see the comparisons against Bitcoin bottom. ETH, Bitcoin, Total 3, Bitcoin, others, Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks like it has some possible downside from where it is, maybe to the mid 80Ks. So it's possible between here and another 10K lower, we could see Bitcoin. And if that happens, don't be surprised to see alts come down here. Now, Crispy, as I'll keep telling you, there's two ways I look to buy alts. One is I have price targets based on moving averages, based off fibs. And at this $18 to $16 area, the 0.5, the 50 week, the 20 week, the 200 day, the lower end of this channel, all good areas for support, all decent areas to dollar cost averaging. But you see this thing falling down a bit. Okay, so I know it's hard to buy here, but at the most recent peak, you have a 40% discount. Now, other top altcoins like AVAX and some others, I've been seeing discounts of 50, 60, 70%. So could more downside be coming for Link? Could we see it coming down a bit more like some of those other alts? Why did that not work? Here we go. Could we be seeing something more like a 50, 60? 60% would be where the 382 is. So in my opinion, it's at a discount territory. We can do a micro fib here from this recent high. That's where I started the line. And where would I draw that bottom? I would draw the bottom where that head and shoulder neckline was. Let's just draw it to the 382. And let's move this fib to the side a little bit so you can see the numbers better. Okay, so we have that high there. I think here's one way to look at the discounts. Is that right now the price, it's almost down to the 382 at around 17. It's right where we're at. I don't hate buying Link here. But if you're waiting for confirmation, again, this area right here, for me, I'm fine buying Link in here. 12 to 18 bucks for a variety of reasons. But again, don't forget, we can look for confirmation with the buy signal. You won't get the very bottom as well, but it's very hard to do that. I have to take off the buy sell signal here. So let's take that off. Let's add on the stochastic RSI. Let's do that quick. What do we see with the stochastic? It's still bearish. So maybe when this starts to flip up and that blue is getting above the orange, the next time that'll be a good area. In my opinion, it probably wouldn't be too far away. But, you can see for yourself, it can flip up, okay? When we're this oversold, it can flip up and still go lower. So if you're buying, let's just do a comparison. If we're possibly buying here, you then have to be okay buying here and here. That's how a dollar cost average strategy works. Over time, that does pay off. Okay, should the asset keep going higher, and Link's one I believe in a lot. I'm glad I was buying in at the weekly buy signals in here. Let's turn those on. I was keeping it very simple during this accumulation phase. Those were all great times to buy. Did I care it went 5% lower? Not at all. So, just make sure you understand your strategy. I did pick up 50 Link at around 18 bucks. That's awesome. I hope by the time we get alt season, that pays off for you. Link is one of my favorite altcoins. It truly is. I think it can do pretty well. All right. Any other requests out there? for certain altcoins. Let's take a look at SUI, SUI. Cool. It's one we've charted before. All right. So SUI, let's go back to this. $9 billion market cap altcoin, a little under $3 right now. Our chart's off log because when we dropped from the high to the low, it went up to the 2618, got to almost $5, or did it get? Yeah, it got to $5, $5 and some change. But it got stalled out at the 2618, and it's been coming down. And you see that wick came pretty much down to the 50-week moving average. So great area to take profits if you got SUI at all down here. I wouldn't be buying this right now. This is one I'd wait for confirmation. Plus, it looks very overextended. I would not be surprised to see it come back down within this range, if I'm being honest. Can you check ADA? Let's do it. Cardano. All right, so Cardano. Let's fix our fib. So we're on log scale. You see the fib, it's drawn high to low. Cardano, it got up to the 618, wasn't able to take it. Bounced around to the 0.5, challenged 618 again, and then boom, it came down hard. Now, overall, what do we see with this weekly? What a beautiful weekly wick. There were buyers at the 50 week, the 382, the 100 week, and then the best buyers right there, they were at the 200 week moving average. So congrats to anyone who got that 200 week moving average at around 51 cents. It's at 69 cents right now. So as far as the weekly wick is concerned, tongue twister, weekly wick is concerned, it's at the higher end of the wick. But overall, I mean, this looks kind of bearish to me. When we see this slowly going down, kind of like it did here, look for a big move, possibly down, or look for a reversal, a buy signal on the daily. Last time it got a buy signal, you see that candle body wasn't getting above that 50. So if it does start to settle around here and you get a buy signal, make sure it's getting above that 200. But I would look for it to possibly settle at the 382. If we draw a micro timeline fib from its recent high to, let's go to that low right here. Let's go to that low. Then we can see, look at that peak right there. You're like, why did it stop right there? Well, there's a 200 week moving average and the 382 on this micro fib. So that's why fibs, moving averages, they work very well together. Moving averages are the golden ratio, or the golden standard. What about Ondo? We're going to get into Ondo. Thank you for that reminder. So, with that being said, I would wait for 60, 61 cents. If you're getting anything below 61 cents, I think that's a good deal. Right now, it's at the 618. If you love ADA, great. It was pretty extended from its moving averages, and then it's just slowly dying. So, by the time it gets confirmation, I wonder if it's going to be within this range here, 50 to 60. Let's go to Ondo Finance. I've seen some very bullish stuff out there about Ondo. Not sure if it's true at all. So Ondo, what do we see here? Our fib right now, it's on log scale. You can see the most recent dip is bought up here at the 200-day. That peak, it was probably around the 1618 from the low to the high. Let's take a look at that. Yep, got perfectly to the 1618. Came down to the, it came down to whatever fib that is. It's not the 618. We have to put it back on log scale. Came down to the 786. Wasn't able to get back up. Slowly come down. So we have lower highs, lower lows. We zoom in here. Kind of looks like a channel's maybe forming. Let's check the channel here. I mean, maybe not. We'll see. I would say kind of. I would say that kind of fits the channel profile. Okay, that fits within our channel profile. And so right now it's at the upper end of this channel. Does have a daily buy signal, but look where it's getting sold off. At that former all-time high trend line, it's getting sold. That's why that wick's there. That's why all these wicks are there. Okay? That's why all those wicks are there. So it might settle in at that 888. To me, that 100-day, that's what you want to see possibly break to get a better discount. And then you're looking in this area, the 786 to the 200-day at around $1.13 to $1.17. Let's go over to the weekly. Yeah, so that weekly did have some buyers here from those moving averages, the 20 moving average and the 786. Let's take a look at the RSI, the stochastic. Got to turn off the buy signals. Let's take a look at the RSI, and the stochastic is showing us it still has room to be oversold. So I would wait for confirmation on this one, and it's holding up well, but I do think it can go a little lower. The wicks for Ondo are quite curious. It's definitely being bought and sold quite strong on both ends. And so it's still a bit undecided, but overall in that channel downtrend. So, if it comes back down the lower end of this channel around the 618 and you get it for around $1, I would like that more for Ondo. It looks good at $1. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if it came down to $1, I mean, from what I've read about Ondo, by that time, yeah, I might buy some more. That's 618. Let's do our microfib. We haven't done our microfib. So we are going to go do our microfib from our recent high to which low do we want to pick? Which low do we want to pick? Do we want to pick the 0.5? Or do we want to pick something down here? No, we don't go that low. I'm going to do right in here where we had all this range and accumulation. I'm going to do the upper end of that. So around $1, it's also where that 236 is. So it's asking for a bit to get down there. But if it does, our patience will pay off for Ondo. Thanks for the request, Crispy. That is an altcoin I've been watching. Speaking of, an altcoin I do like, Jasmy. Still in this channel, lower end of the channel. Man, lower highs, lower lows. Jasmy loves that 382. Looks like it's coming back to it. So, Jasmy overall underneath the dailies, the weeklies. You can see there the 100-week and the lower end of the channel getting bought up. So, Jasmy, yeah, this thing's just been selling off. Weekly sell signals, it's been selling off for like 2 months now. The heck, Jasmy. And so, Jasmy, this is one I have high hopes for. When alt season happens, I was lucky enough to get in pretty much at the bottom of this one. And so stochastic, it's now entering the oversold region. So yeah, man, overall with Jasmy, it's like that 382. And so, I'm fine getting Jasmy close to that 382 at around 1.8 cents to 2.2 cents. I think it's in that buy territory. And if it goes lower, man, it might go lower. Probably, to that 236 area, or we can draw a micro. Whoop. I just tried clicking X on that. We can draw a microfib and look for some targets as well. So if we go from that recent high, and then I'm just going to kind of drop right in the middle there, where those lows were. Yeah, those might be other areas to look for. 1.3 cents. This is right by the 236. So, all right. Any other requests on that? Otherwise, if there's no other altcoin requests, we'll get into Bitcoin miners, and we'll go to Mara, and then we will finish our video. So, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. As far as Mara, is breaking under that lower wedge. This is what we're seeing with Ethereum and many other top alts. And so Mara here, value-wise, Don't hate it. I think if you like miners, there's a fine value here. And the stochastic tends to be true for many across the board. So it's bottom, possibly getting ready to spike back up or do some action down there. But yeah, I don't mind Mara around these levels. I think for the best Bitcoin mining stock in the world, I don't mind this level. Again, it can get lower. And if you're listening to me, this random guy on YouTube talk about crypto, and you're like, you know what? This guy's convincing. I'm going to buy Mara here. Just know in the future, if it does go down here, you should be more excited to buy more at a greater discount. So as far as the recent highs are concerned, you're getting Mara, the best Bitcoin mining stock there is, at 50% off from its recent peak. 50% off. Sounds pretty great to me. Let's go to Riot. And as far as Riot, hanging on that 382 still, which is nice. We do still have this channel, so if it loses that 382, and if Riot comes back down to $7, I'm going to be buying a lot of Riot. I'm just saying. So overall, I think this is a very good DCA spot. But if it came down here, I'd be buying a lot more. Just saying. Let's go to CleanSpark. We'll start running through these a little bit quicker. CleanSpark, Doji, undecided, being sold at these daily moving averages. And so anywhere within range of the 0.5 at around the high $8 area, $8-9, I think is a good area to look for if you're willing to be patient. Cypher, let's do Cypher. It's above the moving averages, holding up nicely. And so, yeah, Cypher has been overall pretty strong in its trend. And so at these moving averages, at around $5 and less is good discount territory for Cypher. Wolf, I know there's some Wolf fans who watch these videos. We have buyers coming in at the 100 week and the 50 week and this 0.5, right at around 45 to 430, and the lowest price recently 417. So in the $4 range, there are buyers for Wolf. And are there any other altcoins to look at? Any other requests out there? Otherwise, I'll end the video. I appreciate all of you watching. Again, the way we started this out is thinking about the how and the why we get alt season. Let me wrap it up. Maybe this will take 5 minutes. How do we get alt season? Well, as I explained earlier, Bitcoin needs to top. Bitcoin needs to top. And when we overlay one of the most common alt season indicators out there, Bitcoin dominance, we can see that. We can see that once Bitcoin is done topping or in the process of topping, that's when we see that rotation that I just showed you. That rotation. Bitcoin needs to be done topping. There might be some other rotations that happen on the way, and they get people excited. But the true alt season happens when Bitcoin is done topping. Happened in 2017, 2021. There was a little rotation here. There was a rotation before and this time as well. And that was nothing. But once Bitcoin was done topping or in the process of topping and being done, that's when we got alt season. Okay? Is Bitcoin done topping? I'm not so convinced. Now, right now, dominance and Bitcoin have been going up together. So if we go to prior cycles, when has dominance and Bitcoin gone up together? Well, here in 2019 is a great example. 2019 is a good example of it going up together. Is this recent 102K the real mid-cycle top instead of the 74K from last March? In hindsight, I wonder if that'll end up being true. If the 102K area we are in right now is the real mid-cycle top. Just curious. But as far as dominance going up and Bitcoin going up, I mean, it happened right before alt season happened. So August of 2017 all the way to December, and then boom, it got alt season. So again, what we are looking for is Bitcoin to top. In my opinion, Bitcoin hasn't topped yet. We see where these peaks are. The upper area, the red, going down towards orange. I'm conservative. In my approach, I'm looking for the orange, somewhere around 150K, give or take, which is right in the middle of the orange, okay, which is also where our 2618 fib is. Let's make sure our fib is off log scale. That's where our fib target is as well, the 2618 at around 155K. I'm looking for somewhere around here. And that's also where we have our log regression, which is another way of looking at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. Works better on this one. Log regression. Ooh, let's put this on auto. Log regression, you can see the top kind of near that upper band, top near that upper band. We've only entered this. So unless we see Bitcoin getting up here at around 160K, 155K, I'm not convinced Bitcoin's topped or topping and we can get that rotation. And why else wouldn't we get that rotation? Well, we need to see Ethereum, Bitcoin turn bullish. Remember, bullish is getting above that 50 week. We showed the 50 week when it was finally taken, June of 2020. Bitcoin really was, it only had a minor correction or two left before it went on its way to the true highs. This is still bottoming. We have to settle in at this bottom and get above the 50 week. Now, are we at a bottom now? Is the bottom lower? I don't know. We'll look for those signs. But for all we know, Ethereum, Bitcoin has a bottom. Bitcoin dominance possibly hasn't topped. Total 3 divided by Bitcoin. New bottom this week. So not bottomed yet. Maybe it's close. Maybe it's further away. We'll see. Others, the total market cap excluding the top 10 cryptos. Others divided by Bitcoin. Great alt indicator. This would be my most bullish scenario for y'all. And there's fibs on those other charts too, the ETH Bitcoin chart, to say maybe a bottom's close. Okay, it's at the lower end of that channel. But again, we looked at the RSIs and other factors and said, this may still go a little lower. So these, for all we know, haven't even bottomed yet. And so why would we have alt season this month, next month? 2017, it can spike. You know, we can go down here to up there in a month. That can happen. And so if that happens, I will say, hey, alt season's right now, because we're getting the data to show us that. If Bitcoin is at around 150K and it's topping and we have this happening, I will tell you this is alt season. But right now, we are the furthest thing from it. Now, however quick we get to the top, whether that takes 600 days, whether that takes a month, I don't know. But those are the signs to look for. And until that happens, we can happily accumulate altcoins, mining stocks at a great discount, 40, 50, 80% off. And if you get the right ones, you'll be happy you did. It will pay off when that happens. I don't know when that happens, but what I am looking for is Bitcoin to be topping or about topped out. And then, and only then, can we get that rotation. That is what to look for. For all the people out there saying there's no alt season, remember, we said those are the Solana degenerates, the people gambling on Solana garbage coins. They think alt season should be happening right now, and because it isn't, they say it's not happening. Well, that's the reason they're saying that is because these charts were in the bottoming range. We might still be bottoming for a bit longer. We might be at the bottom. I don't know. But that's why their sentiment is garbage. It's because we're at this range. Those same people, when others' Bitcoin is getting up here, they're going to sound a lot different. I promise you that. So that's what you want to look for. That's the how and the why that I'm looking for. Quantitative easing to come back, liquidity to be coming in, Bitcoin to be topping, those Bitcoin comparisons to be going up, gold to be done topping. Because we showed when gold starts coming down, that's when we see the Bitcoin tops come a bit after. There's somewhat of a connection there. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Appreciate all the comments and everything you guys asked about or any information you shared. So I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy the Super Bowl. It's one of those games, personally, if either team lost, I'm going to be happy. I like Saquon. Not a Chiefs fan, but I will say that some of you might not like this. Since Tom Brady and all his 7 rings, even though Mahomes has 3, it doesn't feel like the Chiefs have been given the full credit of being a dynasty, in my opinion. So I assume the Chiefs are really going to want this one to cement their legacy. So I'm guessing the Chiefs will win, but we'll see. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Take care.